Hello, everyone. I'm Michel Besner. I'm the VP of Business Development at Prevu3D. Welcome to our second installment of these partner profiles we're doing now. And really happy to have Marc Marion from Allen Company joining us today. It's going to be a very interesting talk. Hello, Marc.
Thanks, Michelle. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I think that, our goal with these sessions is really to, of course, we want to talk about, 3D scanning, reality capture, all that nice stuff, but we also want to know the people behind the businesses who are making things happen. And so we'll definitely spend a bit of time talking with Marc about, how Allen Company got, started. It's definitely a long established company in Florida. And we'll also have Phil, our head of customer success, will help us showcase some of the work that Allen Company has been doing. So I guess we should just start like that. Marc, tell us a bit more about you and what are you doing at Allen Company?
That's a loaded question. We're trying to push things forward at Allen Company, I think is the best way to say it. We've been in business since 1988, and we started kind of our roots as a traditional survey firm in Orlando, doing all the things that surveyors do. And for the first 30 years we're in business, we never really had a focus on sales or business development or even leveraging technology. We're very traditional. And over the last 5 years, we started a journey to leverage some of the latest and greatest technologies and really try to push the envelope on what we can do. And that's kind of what brought us into Preview. And we're really excited about where the industry is going and where the technologies can bring us. And, as a company, we really are trying to focus on not only leveraging the technology, but building the workforce of tomorrow is very important. As we all know, the surveying industry needs a fresh infusion of talent. So we're really focused on not only using the technology, but training our staff to leverage the technology throughout the whole ecosystem of our company. Hopefully that answered your question.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I know that in your case, you've been looking at ways on how to bridge the gap between people that are into like training, simulation, gaming technologies, and so on. And I think that's a great place where we can find this new talent to drive the 3D scanning business. Can you tell us more about why you got into some of these segments that are definitely quite complementary to what people are used to from a manufacturing perspective?
Sure. So, my career in surveying and mapping started kind of in the late 90s, and I kind of stumbled into it. I didn't know much about surveying. I just kind of fell into it, if you would, and found out I really loved the profession. Like, it really resonated with me, the history of it all, the technology at the time, being outside working, on sites, was kind of a journey for me. And then really grew into that industry, mostly on the field side of the business. It's kind of transitioned to the office later on in my career. And then the recession of '08 hit, and the market kind of went away, and everybody was kind of looking for new work and new opportunities. And that's when I transitioned to the modeling and simulation industry, which is, most people don't know, but Orlando is kind of the main hub for modeling and simulation for the Department of Defense. So all the training devices that train our troops, sailors, soldiers, Air Force, and now the Space Force, the Guardians, all that contracting activity happens here in Orlando. And there's this big backbone of technology that's driving augmented, virtual, mixed reality, because of that, for simulation and training opportunities. So I got affiliated with that and got to do some cool stuff and travel the world and kind of really understand virtual reality and augmented reality and drones and how they were being used in the DoD space. And then I ended up transitioning back to geospatial and survey about 2013, kind of on the dawn of, when UAS and drones were starting to proliferate the mapping industry. So we were early adopters of drone technology. We got our first, mapping drone back in 2013. And then I saw the rise of computer vision, LiDAR, photogrammetry, laser scan technology, and how it was being applied in the DoD for like simulation and digitization. and I saw how game engines like Unity and Unreal were starting to leverage computer vision for like immersive simulation environments and immersive, training environments, or try to do like a quasi digital twin, but more for like training or application. And I realized like there were some things we know in the surveying and mapping industry, just because we've been dealing with LiDAR and photogrammetry for decades now, that can really be advantageous to push forward, this digital transformation. And that, we are kind of a necessary cog in that wheel for anybody looking to go through kind of a digital twin journey. Because we have a lot of Unity experts and Unreal experts here in the Orlando market, we really
Oh, I think we have some, maybe it's just me, but it seems that we have some problem with Marc. Are you back, Marc? We lost you there for a second.
I'm back. Please back.
Excellent.
I'm back.
Excellent. So it definitely great to learn about, clearly there's this whole, simulation and military type of angle where you are. And I understand that some of your employees are coming from that market, right? So you've got people that used to be in the Army or other branches and like that. And I think that's clearly one thing that makes you unique in being able to tackle sensitive projects. And of course, we might get asked you what kind of sensitive projects you've been working on. But it's definitely a key advantage that you guys have at Allen & Company to be able to deal with more sensitive type of 3D scanning projects. I think maybe also it's a good segment to, Phil, if you want to start showing some of the work that Allen & Company is doing, it's going to be great to see some of that. And what do we have here?
So this is a site down in Southwest Florida that we went and scanned. We did some drone and some terrestrial capture on this site, and then we cleaned up the point cloud and ran it through Prevu3D. And we were really excited to see the quality level that we were able to achieve and the texture detail that we're able to achieve on this site. If you kind of look down at the ground, you can see all the little pebbles and gravel. If you look at the mesh on that, it came in really nice. A lot of the pipes and the infrastructure that you see, everything was smooth and clean, and you could see a lot of like surface cracks and a lot of definition and detail in this data set. And it really helped us understand like what was achievable with Prevu and how we can apply it. And our customer on this one really liked the opportunity to, it was a rapid turnaround, and they were able to get into the, to Prevu's cloud-based interface to be able to explore and annotate and, mark up and dimension this rather quickly. I mean, this wasn't a heavy turnaround to achieve this level of quality. And, we were really excited to see the level of detail that we're able to realize with our terrestrial scanner on this site. This is we're really proud of this, how this site turned out, and specifically,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and it's great because it shows how much context, great scanning work with Prevu3D creates, right? This is like you often forget that you're actually navigating a full 3D environment. Like people are used to watching, photospheres, which is, one way of navigating to a 3D space, but here, this is truly a 3D environment. And then we've shown it when Phil was showing it in a non-textured shaded view. You can really see the details of the meshes, and of course, applying the textures like we do, it makes it really a unique experience. And that's something that I always like doing. Any first demo we do to a potential new customer, it's always the same pleasure, because there's a sort of a disbelief. People are like, well, I'm watching images. Like, no, this is a full 3D environment, and you have to show the meshes so they can really understand that, okay, this is a real 3D environment. And that's great to see that example.
We saw that we shared this data set with a lot of our gaming partners, the ones that can integrate technology into Unity and Unreal, and they said this was probably one of the best meshes they've seen come from terrestrial data set.
Absolutely. By the way, the attendees, if you have any questions, we have the comments section, so feel free to ask any questions about Prevu and Allen & Company. We'll be more than happy to answer them as they come in. But yeah, so that's a great example. I know that the next example that we had prepared is one of your favorites, which is like this bomber airplane that you scanned, which is another great example of getting the highest quality in this process.
Yeah, so we have a lot of clients in the DoD space, and we wanted to show kind of what was achievable in terms of time frame and quality level. And just by chance, there's a B-52 bomber that's positioned publicly over in Orlando International Airport. So we were able to go out there and we applied two sensors on that one. It was a RTC 360 and then a metrology grade scanner. And we kind of approached it on two sides of being able to scan. How fast would it take to scan the entire asset, meaning the plane? And then what can we use the metrology grade scanner on to show even greater level of detail? So we kind of did a roundabout of the actual plane itself, terrestrial on the ground. And then we used the metrology grade scanner on some of the landing gear, and both of those data sets turned out beautiful. Then we turned to our gaming partners and our sim partners, and we said, how long would it take you to model something like this traditionally to this level of detail? And they said, to that level of detail would take months. And we said we were able to achieve this level of detail and rapid turnaround within a matter of a week. And they were kind of shocked that we can achieve that level of detail and turn it around so quickly.
It's pretty impressive because, like you say, like it's one thing to have like a crude modeling done in a few days, but to get to this level of detail, like we're seeing here, that takes a lot of time. And and often you don't even have the reference data to recreate it yourself. So having a 3D scan is the most efficient way to get there.
Yeah, the only thing I probably would have changed on this data set is we should have deployed the UAS and to get the top of the plane. That's the one gap that we have. Obviously, you just can't see it from the ground. But other than that, we were highly impressed with the rapid turnaround on this one.
This is fantastic. How long did you take to scan this? Like a couple of days, or?
No, we were only out there probably to scan it. Probably I'd say 4 or 5 hours worth of field work, plus or minus.
Wow.
And then we always say however long you spend in the field, you got to double that in the office. So it was probably about a day and a half to post process, clean it up, and get it rendered out.
It's actually interesting because, like you say, the scanning process now has gotten so fast over the past few years that the processing afterwards is now longer than the actual scanning on site.
Yeah, there's definitely a learning curve to understand what the best practices are out in the field. It's not, we've seen a lot of examples where people go out and acquisition a laser scanner and then try to deploy that on every single solution they have, and they're not happy with the results that they achieve. So we kind of maintain a device agnostic approach to where we have multiple types of sensors through different vendors, and we have different software to really understand the best way to achieve the best deliverable for our client. And that's one thing that I recommend to people looking to get into the industry is don't go down a rabbit hole with just any one sensor and think that it's going to achieve all the results you're looking for.
You bring a good point, because I know that you have this whole battery of different scanning devices at Allen Company. So what's your typical process to determine how to best serve your clients?
The correct answer for that is really what are their clients looking to achieve, is trying to understand the client's intent. And our project management team does a really good job of kind of being that consultant with the client to understand what they're trying to do, and then put forward kind of some options or solutions. And then based upon that feedback, then we'll kind of work together as a team internally to say, this is what they're trying to do. And then based upon our experience and previous work, usually dictates the path that we go down regarding what types of sensors we're deploying for that specific purpose.
You bring a good point. I think that, for companies that are treating you more like a trusted advisor and to be involved in the process of working out the best strategy to go and scan a specific site or asset is really key, right? It's not just like, what's your price and how much per day and then you're done. It's really understanding, like you say, asking the customer, what are you looking for? What's going to be the use cases? And again, using your company as an advisor that can really help the customer get the optimal results based on their requirements.
Yeah, we still have a lot of our original clients from 30 something years ago, 35 years ago. They've been with us. We
Wow.
still have a lot of our original employees from that time too. And I think that's a testament to how we pursue business opportunities is we are looking to forge relationships and be that trusted advisor or consultant. And that's done well for us over the years to where we're not really hard selling. We're really trying to understand what their problem is and trying to help them through that problem. And we've noticed by applying that approach, we typically get repeat business or referrals out of it. So it's a good methodology that we stand by. And you're right, like, they're leaning on us as subject matter experts in our field to help them understand and achieve the results they're looking for. And we try to represent that role the best of our abilities, not just with any one client, but with all of our clients.
Definitely. We have one question here that's asking about the minimum laser scan set resolution level needed to load into Preview. And I think there's actually sort of two parts to that question, like, talking about the quality of the scanning, the process, and the quality of the scanner. And then we can talk about the level of detail that we're creating within Prevu3D. Maybe, Marc, you want to talk first about the requirements for the quality of the scanning devices that you're using.
Well, Preview is awesome because it can accept a lot of different inputs. I've seen people even apply like Matterport capture in Preview, and the mesh on that typically doesn't output as high quality as what you would achieve with like a terrestrial scanner. So, as far as the minimum tech requirements, I'll probably lean on Preview to answer that question because I'll probably get it wrong. But I can tell you that with us, there's higher grade sensors, like the RTC 360 is a high grade sensor in our opinion, and it's very versatile, but it also has challenges outside in the heat where it'll overheat pretty quickly. And we work in Florida, so that's a challenge for us. But the data capture and the density on that is, I think is beautiful and phenomenal. And you'll achieve really good results there. The VLX does a good job of doing rapid capture with SLAM technology, and it outputs a very beautiful deliverable that's usually very color balanced. But Preview can handle a lot of the high end side of what you can achieve with current terrestrial capture. But it could also you could also kind of downgrade it if you need to go fast and get an output. Preview can accept that as well, but you are going to minimize some of the quality that you're going to be able to achieve.
Exactly, and I think that the key as part of that is like Prevu3D, we like density. So the denser that the scans are, more scanning stations, more point cloud is preferable to get the optimal results on the meshing process. What makes us unique is not only that we have this great point cloud to mesh engine that automatically converts the point cloud to a mesh, but also we create our own sort of like tiling level of detail system. And maybe Phil has another example that he could show with the wireframe on, and you'll see when you're displaying in Preview with the meshes triangles, you see actually the level of details being swapped in real time to get the highest quality where you're looking at, and getting less quality where you're further down the camera to give you that performance level that we're having. I know there's a secondary question from Hugo here. Can you precise which device you integrate into your 3D laser scanning workflow? We support pretty much all the terrestrial laser scanners like Leica, Faro, ZNF, and so on, and the SLAM-based device like the Navis VLX2 and VLX3. I think that there's some degrees Matterport works okay as well, but it's all about the quality of the scanning and the quality of the image that changes the results that we're getting into our solution.
Yeah, I think another important part to kind of tie into Hugo's question is survey control, I think, is also paramount whenever you're tackling a laser scan project in itself. So at the beginning of our workflow is typically a total station and establishing strong, applying good survey etiquette to establish a good control network throughout the scan or throughout the area to be scanned. And then doing the terrestrial capture and keeping making sure you have good overlap from
Yep.
scan station to scan station is very important. And then making sure you're keeping your scan file size manageable, so you're not trying to do too much in one thing just in case there's corruption. Is really trying to spread out that file ecosystem over multiple data sets, and then doing some scan to scan alignment. And that's what the survey control is very important for, to make sure everything kind of comes together as intended and very clean and accurate. Hope that answers your question.
Absolutely, and it's definitely a key point. Like, control points are important, especially when you're doing like larger sites, like what we're seeing here. Like if you're doing like a very, very small space, probably not as problematic, but the larger the sites, then you need to have those control points to really make sure that your registration is as tight as possible and not have any drift into your scanning data. And like Phil just showed, like you've just seen live in action the dynamic level of detail system that we have in Prevu3D, that you are seeing these tiles being updated to higher resolution as you're getting closer to an object. And then, of course, if you're looking far away, then you need less details, of course, because that's not where the camera is looking at. And don't be shy if you have more questions. One thing, until we have a few more questions, Mark, maybe I always like to bring in some, fun tidbits into these webinars. And one that's, we talk about is like the first time we met in person, that first week last year when we were at ITSEC. And there's a bit of a restaurant story there, that you went to the same restaurant twice in that same week because of me, I would say.
I will never turn down a good opportunity to eat at a good restaurant either. So. So every year in Orlando, there's this big it's the world's largest modeling and simulation conference. It's called ITSEC, IITSEC.org is their website. And I've been going to that conference for 24 years. This will be my 24th year attending that conference. And it's everything to do with learning, training, virtual, mixed reality, simulation. So you got all the different aviation trainers, tank trainers, marksmanship trainers. But you also have a lot of different types of learning theory, and like Nvidia's there, and they pushing out graphics cards and things of that nature. So anyway, I invited the Prevu team down just to kind of understand what Orlando is all about and kind of what's here in our backyard. And Nick was down here the day before Michel came down, and I took Nick out to dinner one night, and we went to Fogo de Chao. And that was, I think, his first time going to a restaurant like that. It's a Brazilian steakhouse, and it was awesome. I always have a good meal when I go there. And then, Michel shows up to the conference the next day, and we kind of mentioned we went there, and he was a little disappointed that, he missed out on, his, Brazilian steakhouse dinner. So we ended up planning a second trip just for Michel the second night. And I wasn't complaining, because 2 nights of Fogo de Chao is not a bad thing in my book. But it was great to have everybody down here and them to see what's going on here in Orlando. And I always, like I said, enjoy a good meal, especially now with Michel and Nick.
Absolutely, it's one of my favorite restaurants, and actually, there's in most major cities in the U.S. there's a Fogo de Chao, and it's one of the first thing I check when I go to an event or a trade show. Is like, is there one close by that we can go to? So I was really happy that you made that extra effort to go there twice. It's a lot of meat to eat in just 1 week. So one thing also like, yep, go on.
I saw Tracy's comment pop up. Any advice on the best way to capture above ceiling scans without taking down the ceiling? You could get some lifts, like it's kind of like an extension pole, if you will, like almost similar to old range rod, but you can kind of crank it up and down for your terrestrial scanner. That'll get you above fences or above grids. But it is very much, you gotta lift it up, lift it down, pick it up, move it, lift it up, lift it down, pick it up, move it. I learned at a conference last year that there is a good application called Cuppix, that's Cuppix, that does a lot of good, above the grid kind of, using photogrammetry and our, terrestrial scan data being able to like get in confined spaces and stitch it all together to a nice clean deliverable. So I would say check out QPix for above the ceiling type solutions. They were probably the best one I've seen so far.
Yeah, Eli has another question. So are we supporting LGS files? Sadly, we don't support LGS file at this point. It's a proprietary format by Leica, and we don't have the specifications. And if you talk to Leica, maybe you can ask them to give us the specs so we can implement it. We'd be more than happy to do that. But we do support E57 files registered, structured with imagery. So if you're able to export E57 files, we're more than happy to import that format into our system. Speaking of Fogo de Chao, I know that most likely we'll go there in Detroit in a few weeks when we'll be hosting this special event for Reality Capture 101 in Detroit at Automation Alley on November 2nd. So I'm looking forward to that event as well. That's going to be pretty great to go there and, again, go to Fogo de Chao.
No, this one's on you, buddy.
Yes. I was afraid you would say that, so no worries. Other questions, guys, on the call? More than happy to answer things. Here's another good example that's still showing off with a caboose in a sort of a train station. Again, great work on the scanning work that you're doing. I believe this is one also. This was done with the RTC as well, or the VLX. Not sure about.
Yeah, this one was. I think we've done this a couple different times. Literally, this caboose is literally right across the street from our downtown office in Winter Garden, Florida. And it's kind of like a landmark in the Central Florida region. So everybody knows that caboose is kind of tied together with downtown Winter Garden, which, like I said, happens to be right across the street from our office. So I'm not sure in this data set if we did that with RTC 360 or if it was the Trimble X7. This one looks like RTC data.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've scanned this thing so many times just to learn and refine, and we are kind of working and have been kind of doing a test case of a downtown, like doing a digital twin of downtown Winter Garden that we've been working on, just to really show the urban environment and the level of detail that you can achieve. And that one where it's kind of interesting because we're doing both UAS capture to get the rooftops and the tops of the trees and all the foliage that's down there, and then we're doing a lot of terrestrial capture on the ground level, and then kind of merging those together in the final deliverable. And our intent is to try to get that into a game engine, so we could actually, kind of do some application with that and show more of a sensor fusion type deliverable. We're excited about that one.
Yep, absolutely, it's great stuff. Another question here is about Nvidia Omniverse. So we do have, yes, a plugin called Reality Mesh for Omniverse. And so as you can see in Prevu3D, we have these amazing 3D meshes that are into our application. One thing that our product doesn't really do is advanced simulation. And so we've partnered with Nvidia Omniverse to make sure that we're able to bring our high quality meshes right inside of Omniverse. And that's why we've created this connector for Omniverse that actually takes our full tiling system and meshes, and then we can upload that into Omniverse and use all the great tools in Omniverse for doing advanced simulations that you can do there. And it creates a very smooth, seamless workflow between Prevu3D and NVIDIA Omniverse. And another question here from Eli, is Prevu a desktop tool? So we have a web version for the collaboration aspect, so you can actually share web links and have like commenting and notes done in the web. We do have a desktop version for the more advanced engineering work. If you're trying to cut assets and bring CAD elements and create specific layouts that you can then publish on the web, then it's done using the desktop application. The other part of your question is, how long does it take to create a mesh from a 2 GB E57 using a laptop? All of our point cloud to mesh processing is done in our cloud platform, and is actually very quick. So if you have like a 2 GB E57, that will take less than an hour, maybe even minutes. Like, just to give you a scale of performance, we recently did a terabyte of point cloud, which is massive, and that was done overnight. And so if you try to do that on the usual desktop meshing software, that would take like a lot of weeks of processing. So we definitely have not only the best meshing engine out there, but the fastest one too.
Yeah, it also depends on your bandwidth too. If you got fiber connectivity, it'll upload a lot quicker than if you have like regular broadband.
Yeah, actually, with smaller files like that, the upload process is actually longer than the meshing computing. Another question here from Tracy to you, Marc, about do you need to reduce the scan grid to keep the image quality up when you're above these ceilings?
Sometimes you're kind of limited with what you got access to. I always find that you always want to try to get as much overlap as possible to get the maximum quality to achieve good results. But sometimes that's not an option when you can only get to every other grid and there's pipe work or HVAC systems in the way, things of that nature. So you kind of do the best you can. I don't know if that answers your question or not, but sometimes you're limited to what the site will allow.
Yeah, I would suggest to Tracy that maybe you want to connect offline with Marc and get into more of these details, because obviously I'm sure that there is some specific elements to your question that with more context would help Marc to give you a even more precise answer on those type of issues.
Man, some of the questions I might not be the right guy to ask. I might need to get some of my team involved, too. So like my goal is to make sure that you get your questions answered. I might not be able to be the one to answer them.
Yeah, that's the best answer there. Any big projects you're working on or interesting projects you're working on that you can talk about, or everything is still just hush on, or recently things you've done?
I can't probably. I mean, I want to honor my clients and our NDAs and stuff, so I can't really name specifics per se. But we're doing a lot of stuff. Obviously we're in Orlando, so we do a lot of work for the theme parks. We're doing a lot of work for the Space Coast. Being in Orlando, we just have the luxury of a lot of people moving here and a lot of things going on. So there's always some fun and exciting stuff to do. I do want to give a shout out to Orlando. There's a big event coming up later this month or October in Orlando. It's Meta Center Global Week. Orlando is trying to moniker itself as the center of the metaverse and tie together the simulation and gaming technologies and all the educational universities that are down here in Orlando. And this will be the first year they're doing it. It's going to be a 3-day conference here in Orlando that's all about meta center technologies, digital twin technologies, things of that nature. It's like a 3-day event. They're going to have live performances and multiple stages. It's supposed to be a pretty big deal. We're pretty excited about it. We're going to have some, folks going to that. It happens to be going on at the same time as the Reality Capture Network conference over in Boise, Idaho. And I want to give a big shout out to Matt Bird. He's doing some really cool things with that Reality Capture Network conference. We're going to have some folks going to Boise. We're going to have some folks going to, staying here in Orlando. We're seeing a dramatic uptick in a lot of opportunities to deploy the scanner and a lot of people wanting more of a 3D deliverable. We've had a great response from our clients when we show them Prevu3D, and it's been very exciting to see how that's helped our sales. That added level of detail and ease of access through their cloud, through the cloud. And, Prevu has been good to us, and we really enjoy working with them. So I also want to give a shout out to you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Same here. And yeah, we're also like Matt at the RCN. We'll be there as well. It's definitely a great conference. It's almost like a family reunion for 3D scanning folks. So it's a great event. Another question here from Casey about how is Prevu3D ingesting metrology grade scan data? We don't do as much into the metrology grade scanning per se. If you do have an EC7 file, we can definitely import it and mesh it. Like you mentioned, there's great solutions like Koreaform that's also close to here, based in Quebec, close to Montreal. And so, yes, this is something that's complementary to what we're doing from a scanning of facilities and everything.
Yeah, I can throw some flavor on top of that one. We've had a lot of success with the Artec scanner. The Artec Leo is what we use. And it has a really good, their software has a pretty good meshing agent for the level of detail when you get to metrology grade scans. And then what we're trying to do is really do some scan-to-scan orientation, which does get a little tricky when you're dealing with metrology grade scan because it's just so hyper precise. And then what we've seen is, the scan, the mesh data that we're able to get out of Preview is probably, the best that we've seen in the industry so far for environmental areas, like, indoor, outdoor, large terrain data sets. Preview to me, hands down, has the best solution, right? And then, doing the hyper detail stuff with the metrology grade scanner and leveraging their meshing agents does quite well for what they do. But they wouldn't be able to handle the large environmental areas. It's just be too sizable. The polygon count, it just wouldn't. I just don't see that working very well. But doing them independently and trying to merge them together is kind of where we're at in the process. And that in itself is not a clean workflow. There's not that takes some kind of sophistication and some subject matter expertise to kind of do that well. There's not a simple solution to that just yet.
Yeah, definitely. And also in our case, like whatever we don't necessarily process ourselves directly, like photogrammetry or some of these higher grade metrology scans, you can always generate an FBX or an OBJ file, and we'll import those quite successfully into Prevu3D. So you can combine outside data in FBX, for example, and combine it with our own meshes inside of our application. So there's different ways of addressing that. Another question here from Johannes asking about any difficulties associated with data volume and how have you resolved those issues?
You can always buy more space. I don't know if you mean more on the storage or the processing side. I mean, I'd have to ask you more questions to refine that question a little bit. But yeah, to be honest with you, there's always going to be some challenge with just the nature of point clouds. They're just massive data sets, right? And the larger your environment, the bigger your data set's going to be. And the denser you want your cloud, the larger your file size is going to be. I can tell you that, Michel nailed it earlier that, the only limitation on processing through Preview is your upload and download speeds. Once they have that data set, there is pretty rapid turnaround to get a high quality mesh. A lot of what we got to focus on the front end is more like cleaning up the point cloud and removing some of the noise and the static and just making sure that it's render ready. And that does take some time. We kind of architected our infrastructure to support enough storage capability for the sizes of our projects. So that's, we kind of planned ahead for that. So to be honest with you, it's never really been a huge challenge for us. But I could see how it could be.
Yeah. One key point also with Preview and the meshing that we do is that, we'll basically, out of the meshes we generate, it's going to be 90 to 95% smaller than the original point cloud without losing the resolution, right, and the quality. So if you had like 100 gig point cloud, it's going to become a 5 to 10 gig mesh. And that's a lot easier to consume, to download, to share than the 100 gig of point cloud data. And that's definitely something that people appreciate when they're dealing with the 3D scanning data, is to keep the quality and the resolution without the pain of massive files in point cloud format.
Yeah, I can agree to that. We were trying to do raw point cloud integration into Unreal and Unity, and it just does not work. I mean, it crashes your system. It's just too heavy. Once we were able to start leveraging the mesh output from Preview, we started seeing a lot more success in that area. I'm really excited about some of the new tools that Preview is bringing to the table with the asset identification and segmentation and being able to like extract 3D models out of the scene. Those tools are invaluable for some of the things that we're trying to do, and I'm really excited about some of the new stuff you guys are working on and where you're going with the platform, because I think that's going to even give us more features kind of as end users and deliver a lot more value to our clients. So I'm really excited about that. You guys are doing some really cool stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's for sure. Like, it's been, we've been showcasing this for, several months now. It's getting very close to have initial releases on our segmentation capabilities. And like you said, it's really going to change how people are treating point cloud and meshes, to be able to split them using a different type of advanced tools from segmenting, from manual work to semi-automatic processes. And so we're really happy and looking forward in the next several months to start releasing some of these capabilities to the market. And it's going to be great to see the data from Alan company being processed with the segmentation and see how what we can create with this for the end customers and really improving their workflows as well.
Yeah, I think what's exciting to see is how fast Prevu is moving to kind of keep pace. Like I always look forward to your product enhancement sessions and your webinars, because you always seem to have something to bring to the table, and that always excites us. And everything's been awesome. Like when you release it, it's like, oh man, it's a game changer. It's going to help so much. I'm also excited to see where like machine learning and artificial intelligence is really going to take the industry and how that's going to be a game changer. And I do believe that by nature of what we do, by being able to deploy assets and in terms of computer vision, deploy remote sensing technologies and then incorporate that data into machine learning and artificial intelligence, I do see that kind of continuing to evolve at a dramatic pace over the next couple of years, and that's another exciting thing about this industry that gets me all pumped up.
Yeah, we're definitely exciting times ahead in what's coming from the industry and what we're building at Prevu3D as well. We're almost out of time. Marc, any famous last words for this webinar? Anything you want to leave our audience with?
Well, we like collaborating. Obviously, we want to bolster the industry. So if you guys have any questions or just want to link together or jump on a call, we're totally open to do that. You could hit me up on LinkedIn. You could find us through our website. We do have a contact page. You can go to allen-company.com. There's a contact page there. I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. Send me private messages, whatever. Anything we could do to help you, we're more than open to do. We really want to bolster the industry and push things forward. If you have any questions, if I'm not the one to answer it, I can get you connected to some folks on my team that are a lot smarter than I am to answer those questions. But yeah, I'm just hope to meet some of y'all in person. I'll be at RCN this year. We'll have staff at the Meta Center Week. I will be at ITSIC this year. We're going to have a booth there as well, so you could always pop in and say hi there. I look forward to working with y'all. And, thanks for listening today. Hope it was worth your time.
Sounds good. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Marc, it's been fantastic to chat today like this. Definitely appreciate your collaboration with us and driving the adoption of our solution in the market. If you want more information about Prevu3D, we have a lot of great content on our website, customer stories, case studies, other documentation. So feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to discuss how we can help you change how you're dealing with and working with 3D scanning data. And clearly, we're happy to have Alan Company as one of our partners there. Thank you, everyone, and wishing you a great rest of the day and looking forward to see you in person in one of our next events and trade shows. Thank you, everyone.